Welcome to First Things First. I'm Brooke Blunt. My pronouns are she and her.
I'm Matty Mills. My pronouns are he and him. And before we get started, we'd like to acknowledge the custodians of the land on which we record. And for us both, it is the Gadigal People of the Eora Nation.
Yes, we've got a really exciting episode ahead. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Oh my God.
No,
I'm
my
excited.
God, I'm excited.
No, I'm already peeing
I
my
am
pants.
fucking thrilled
No.
that Luke and Sassy Scott are on our pod. What the fuck?
I
How are
feel
you
like
guys?
Sassy Scott now is just like it. Like, it's not Scott. It's Sassy Scott. Like, full stop.
Should we start into it straight away? So I got introduced to something.
Yes.
They're like, "Hello, Mr. Scott," and I'm like, "No, I'm Luke." And they're like, "Yeah, but your surname's Scott." No, it's not. They think his name's Sassy, and then
No.
our surname's Scott.
That is hilarious.
That is amazing. I want to talk about like where you grew up. You grew up in, a bit of a rough suburb. You
Yeah,
know?
where did you guys grow up?
So we grew up in a place called Mill Park here in Melbourne. I kind of say that Mill Park is, and everyone that lives there probably like fucking hates me. But then again, I am going to one day do a petition to have like a really dodgy, ugly statue made of me and Luke and put it up at the local shops there. It'll happen one day. But Mill Park
Just
is...
know a big graffiti in every
know.
day, your head
Yeah.
chopped off.
Oh, that's
A
too
dick drawn
good.
on the forehead.
Yeah.
Like,
It's home. Mum and Dad still live there. Half my best friends and everyone still lives there. But, I say once you get out, you don't go back.
When I go home to my community, right, like in Coaldale, Tamworth, it's the rough, it's the wrong side of the tracks, it's the blackfellow community. My family all still live there. But back in the day, I used to find that I wasn't scared or I didn't feel unsafe. But now that I am not there all the time, when I go back, I'm locking the doors. I feel a little bit like, have I just come too far over here to not feel safe anymore? I don't know what it is, but when you're from there and you're living there, it's a different thing. You walk around the streets, you don't care. It's
Yeah.
middle of the night, who cares? But now when I go back, I'm very cautious. Is that for you guys?
Mill Park, you walked home in the middle of the road.
Yes.
yeah, same as
Right,
Carnarvon.
that's what you did. So then you had more time to run if somebody kind of jumped out at
Yeah.
you. But Luke and I had a
I'm
very
so confused. I never left the house. What?
at
walked
night,
in
you
the
walked
middle of the
in the middle of
road.
the
You
road.
used
You
to
didn't
do
walk
that.
on the footpath. But Luke are very different people, obviously.
Yeah.
But Luke was a fucking nerd and he never left the house because he was so scared of, I guess, the stories I would tell of what was happening
my
out on the streets.
personality was education. Scott's was very different.
So before, you guys went viral on social media for your incredible dynamic as brothers, what was your relationship like before that? Was it always like this?
No, I feel like the family's always been like that. The only difference is we see a lot more of each other,
Which is infuriating us now.
But our relationship hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Have you ever said "I love you" to me?
Why would I?
Give it a crack.
Give it a crack. Just say it. Just say it.
Luke and I'm like a bit of a dance monkey. I love to entertain. It's like a natural thing inside of me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Luke used to, and still does, is able to bring out certain sides of me, right?
Yeah.
And we would be bored, and I don't really want to go there because I don't want to talk about it and I don't want them to be leaked online. But
No, I've
we
got them
used
all on
to-
private.
Yeah, we used to have a private YouTube account before YouTube, and that was anything. I would have been like
Oh my
15 years
God.
old or something, right? And Luke used to go, "Hey, Delta Goodrum's come out with a new song. Why don't you pretend to be her biggest fan and react to her film clip?"
I can still hear it sitting on top of the world.
Oh,
So
my
embarrassing.
life.
So he'd record me, I'd react, and I'd be crying and I'd be jumping and I'd be like, "Oh my God, it's amazing." And now, as a 38-year-old man, I'm like, if those videos ever get fucking leaked, oh my God.
Where are they? Are
They are in the
Don't
archives.
They're in the archives.
Sitting on top.
Wait.
Sitting on top of the world.
Can I just say that wasn't that long ago? Maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's what it would have been.
But that's what I mean. So our whole entire life, we've always been doing this. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just so bizarre that when it took off and it's still doing it, we haven't changed, but the world around us kind of has, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
I love your content. I've always loved it from the start, and I still do. I know when Luke gets under your skin,
Mate.
Scott, because that's the same feeling I get from my brothers, and I'm like, ah,
That's the same feeling I get from Matt.
but it's so funny to watch because it's like, I don't know, it's just so relatable. That's the word.
Sibling relationships is a universal language.
Yeah.
So, we've got fucking people from Peru that message us, right? Even at the start, we had people that were in bunkers in the Ukraine when the war started breaking out that were like saying, thank you so much for entertaining our family whilst we're going through this. And it just, we've learned that our dynamic, the way we speak to one another and the way we engage,
like we
is
understand
universal.
it's so toxic, but for sibling relationships is somewhat okay and everyone approves. Like,
yeah, if I spoke to anybody else the way I talk to Luke, right? Like call fucking DHS or the cops, right? But because it's
and
a brother,
I do, and they say stop calling Luke.
but because it's a brother, it's encouraged and it's so accepted. And we say it says more about the people that follow us than it does us.
But it's like a glimpse into like what's happening in our own world, you know.
Yeah, and
but you're sharing it with the world. But Luke, I want to ask, like, when you think about, you know, pulling a prank on Scott, is it just like an idea that comes to mind that I'm going to go with it, or do you ever run things past each other before the fact?
I haven't really done too many pranks for a while, right? But when I was really going hard on him,
No, not happening. Stop it, Luke! What is that? What? Don't do it on my fucking carpet! You ruined my day. Fuck off, Luke. No, I don't care. Get out.
get up.
Fuck off.
I had I kid you not, an Excel spreadsheet where one day I reckon I sat there for 2 hours and wrote, so nearly every video you've seen, I probably wrote in that 2 hour period. And I've still got there's probably like 50 still on the list that I never got to. Wow. And I just would constantly then manifest it in my head, like what it would look like, how I would go about it. So each idea would just have like the title, but I would know like how I would do it exactly before going in.
And what a lot of people don't know is Luke would like groom me. For over
Tell us more.
No, like before he would do a prank, he would pour out orange juice and leave it spilt on the kitchen bench and go to work. And I'd wake up and I'd be like, the fuck's this guy done? And so he would just be intentionally getting under my skin and being intentional with everything he's doing around me, that by the time he did one of these pranks, I was fucking ready to start throwing punches. Like, you know.
The thing I always like had as my motto as well, like that to be like if you go back, they're very basic pranks. Like it would be like put a wet towel on the couch, like stuff you would do growing up that you knew would piss your parents off. I'm like, that's what would work for Scott. So it's never anything this big elaborate thing. It was just knowing you would just pop off at me.
And Scott, have you ever got Luke good? Like,
Comes with intelligence, so
Do you know what? I haven't. Not yet.
I
And
would die. Like, I go quiet. Like, me reacting to something, it would be a shit video. I would just go mute.
I like little things. Luke gets quite embarrassed easily, and he gets really clammy. And he'll
I'm
look
clammy
at me,
right now. I just took off my sandals.
Luke just looks at me and gives me like a death stare, like help, help, help.
Yeah.
And there's a big empath in me that when people need help or support, I charge in. So I need to like kind of unlearn in myself that when Luke is looking at me for help one day and it's like on the global stage, that's my moment to go no and watch him just buckle.
What's something that people don't really know about you guys?
I think the biggest thing that probably people don't know, and I'm gonna go with this one. We have somebody that works with us who we have brought in as our HR and comms consultant. This person helps be mine and Luke's buffer of how we talk to each other and how we talk to other people.
So next time you want to call Scott and yell at him, maybe call me first.
Yes.
And, because, we've become a business. It's become a company. We've both left our full-time roles for this.
Yeah.
And we're very fortunate. We're aware of it. And you don't fucking miss your target when you get one shot, right? So we have really taken this on. It's unexpected, but we're not missing our shot. And so Luke and I and our relationship with each other and others around us sometimes has taken a really big strain. And, my previous career, you got consultants or experts in to do their job to help your business or team grow better. So we've brought somebody in that's actually the buffer between Luke and I. They help me and him kind of communicate with one another when shit's really hitting the fucking fan.
Yep.
But then
That's
also with
smart,
other people around us.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it is a business, right? And I think, you guys did get sort of thrusted into this world, and then if you didn't have any intentions of like it being your full-time job, you're like, oh shit, okay, because I feel like also making that leap of becoming like a full-time creator was scary. But you have to kind of treat it like a business. And, you know, it's fine if you're doing it by yourself, but when you're so close to someone and it's business and also your, you know, your personal relationship. Yeah, I can imagine that would be fucking tricky to like navigate.
And that was a hard thing to accept as well, like when it was all blowing up and then seeing it as potential business one day. And I don't even know who it was who pushed that harder at the time. I knew the accounts were getting big, but I still didn't ever think when they did get big that we would be working for this full time.
So Luke only left his role this year, his full-time role. Yep. I left mine December last year. Yep. We were one part delusional in going, oh, this isn't really happening. We're not really getting paid to just be ourselves, right? Like, this is bizarre. And we also held on to our roles for a sense of belonging, a sense of normality, because when you've got fucking A-listers or, you know, some of the organisations and brands that wanted to work with us,
Selena Gomez.
Like, this is fucking crazy, right? So I'm like, I've got to go to my 9-to-5 job just so I can keep my feet on the ground.
It's a big leap of faith to be able to, like, actually, you know, take on a content creation role as a full-time thing, but you're one of the most successful like content creators and duos in the country, if not, you know, in the world. Do you have aspirations for international stuff?
Well, you just did a tour, right? Tell me about the tour, because I want to know how it came about and where did you go and how did you fucking deal with... I could not go on stage in all these different towns. Like, I would absolutely shit myself.
I still don't even know how to explain it. It wasn't...
Yeah, how did you deal with it? I mean, you say that you're quite...
Luke was a fucking radiographer before this. He was working in a hospital. Like, I've got
scanning... Like,
bodies. He takes photos.
I was mainly
on the
an
inside.
MRI in the end, or emergency CT. There's I forget, is it called Emergency, the TV show on Channel 9? I'd pop up on there every now and then going, look, what are you doing on this like thing? It was like paid actors, and I'm like, it's my job.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
But no, doing a live show. So we're signed with the Mushroom Group, which then is very much affiliated with live touring, mainly of music acts. And then it was pitched to us to do this live show. And I'm like, you know what? Why not? Like, I'm kind of throwing everything at the wall right now. Whatever sticks is kind of cool at the moment. Scott was just about to have twins.
And I'm strategic as fuck. And I'm like, this doesn't fall within the strategy at the moment. It's too much to take on. I knew what it would require.
I was like, fuck the strategy. Let's do it. Let's just go. And then planning starts. We get a show writer involved. And she's starting pitching like what the show should look like. Shout out to Nikki Britton. But then the first show, I'm out there and I'm like just looking at Scott going... So I'm a radiographer. What the fuck am I doing up here?
That's right. And we wrote this show. It took us probably about, once I accepted that we'd do it, it took us about 10 weeks to write it, to build it, and then quite some time to really kind of rehearse it, step it through, block it out, whatever, right? And the first night in Sydney was so fucking buck wild at the Enmore Theatre.
Like, Enmore Theatre is such an iconic venue.
Iconic.
Our
first ever show, I'm like, what am I doing?
People were screaming, I fucking love you! Right? And I said, shut up, we got a fucking show to do, right? Like, and then I say this joke about, because Luke has this medical background, and I said something like, you know, Luke will pull out his little microscopic dick and swing it around this theatre and try and win some of you over with his medical terminology. Well, then a quarter of the audience, because I've got the other 3/4, start screaming, show us your dick. Show us your dick.
And I'm clammy as fuck at this stage.
Luke freaks out and he just stops and looks at me and he goes, I'm a radiographer. Like, he's like, this is ridiculous.
I'm not
what is
trained
going on?
for this.
Yeah. Anyway, and then we did the show and it was incredible. And then we rolled it out around the rest of the country. Wow. It was, for us in the industry, a moment for us to possibly say to, you know, call it radio, TV, and live artists, that we have what it takes. Yep. You know, people looked at us just like TikTokers and then we became Facebookers. You know, but I respect and appreciate the arts and entertainment industry, and I know that there's certain work you need to put in. Yep. And the live show was just the next step of, I think, proving to ourselves that we've got what it takes.
And it is. It was a
Absolutely.
good challenge as well, because everything we do, from podcasting to online content, even when we do our lives, you have an engagement from the audience, but nothing in front of you actually giving you the feedback there and then. So it was so new and quite challenging, but we both enjoyed it.
What I loved is that you, Mob, actually put on First Nations artists in each town, where you went as your opening. You had Zipporah, you had the Brother Boys from Perth, dance
Stubbs
on
Brothers.
stage, the Stubbs Brothers.
Yeah.
I had this conversation. I don't know if you remember this, Scott, but I came up to, I think it was the TikTok Awards maybe last year. And I said to you, I really appreciate the fact that you champion First Nations voices and use your platform to amplify their voices, right? So I saw that you were doing this on your tour, and it just brings so much pride to us when we see people with big platforms elevate our community. Why was that important for you, Mob?
It makes me emotional talking about it, because I remember when the plebiscite happened, and listen, I've always been a supporter of First Nations, Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander people. Always have been, right?
Yep.
Especially women of colour and people that I guess have just had to fucking work harder in this world than somebody else based on the way they were born, right?
Yeah.
I remember when the plebiscite happened, I was calling friends and family. Then I started to call random numbers in the phone book to try and gauge whether or not it was going to be a yes or a no, because I really wanted the yes vote, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted to marry the love of my life, my husband. And I soon realised there just weren't enough gay people to get the numbers, to get the vote across the line. And that I had to turn it to the allies, and I had to try and tell my story to as many friends and family who could try and get it out there to get the numbers up as allies. So then when I saw how allies were able to get me something that I truly deserved and I wanted and meant so much to me, which was marriage equality, it just made so much sense that then it was my turn to be an ally, because allies really helped me. And I can look at so many different groups in our communities and society, and I'm like, hang on, it's really easy to lend your voice to somebody else because it doesn't actually fucking affect you, it affects them. And if there's a collective group of people that are asking for one thing and it doesn't fucking affect your life, most likely, it's very easy for you to stand up for it or buy them. And so, Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander people, I think, fascinate me more than fucking us boring ass white folk, right? Because they've just got this history and culture. I don't even know what Australia's culture, what my culture is as an O'Halloran. I don't know what our culture is. But I'm so fascinated by Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander culture of such beautiful, long, rich history and connection to land and spirit and to one another. So it just made so much sense for us to lend our voice.
So much. That actually warms. That's just powerful shit.
Yeah.
That rocked me a little bit, because I'm like, I want all of my friends and people to talk the way that Scott does about our community and what they want for us. Isn't that fucking insane? Thank you, Scott. And thank you, Luke. I know you were
I went quiet during that stage. But for me,
Luke's like, I love Aboriginal people too.
Ally.
See, this is
Ally.
ally. Scott and I have spoken about this in the past. It's like I can have the same beliefs as him, but I don't have the ability to be able to put the sentences together. And I feel like so many creators are probably in the same corner as me, and they get called out to speak on so many topics where sometimes I'm lucky that I have Scott in my corner to be able to just film him and say it. Like me posting it, I feel like it's my truth and my words as well.
I lean into what is really uncomfortable. Right? Yeah. And I always have, right? And that was the little brawler in me. I used to lean into something that didn't feel or seem right. And I've since been able to flip that around and lean into being curious about it and lean into it. Whereas I do know and see a lot of people are scared to offend.
Totally.
But curiosity kind of can overarch that. And if you're curious,
you're not being judgmental.
Correct. Yeah, and you can find out so
Ted
much
Lasso
more.
Ted Lasso says that.
Oh, okay.
Have you watched Ted Lasso? He goes, the best thing is to be curious because it leaves without judgment.
Yeah.
And when you have judgment, you just assume. And when you assume, you close off yourself from all of these other opportunities to know something or know someone.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that, I agree with you there, Scott. Like, being curious is there's such beauty in that. Like, 'cause it
Whereas
doesn't
I've been
lead-
always so scared to offend, so I find myself in conversations with Scott, and he's asking questions. I'm like, oh fuck, like,
He really does. And
looking for a camera. I'm like, is this being recorded?
I want to talk about your beautiful twins.
We talk about you quite a bit, actually,
Yeah.
about this journey, because it means a lot to Matty to see.
It does. I just feel very inspired by your journey, and I've always wanted to be a dad. It's my biggest dream of my life, and I feel like it's so important to me that I get emotional about it because I feel like it's the one thing in my life that I really want. For me, it's always been that, and it will come when it's, when it's time, and I'm on that journey to prepare for that moment. But I want to talk about your surrogacy journey, if that's all right. And
of course.
what did that journey entail for you?
So I always wanted to be a dad, and I always really appreciated and respected family. However, because I was in the closet, I always really struggled with my identity. And the one reason why I came out in the end at the age of 24 was because I couldn't live lying to myself anymore. But in that decision, I accepted that I would never be a dad.
Okay.
But, right? And then, soon realised and understood, when we got marriage equality and you see that people around you accept you, you can kind of start really looking more within, right?
Yep.
And then, I met Marcus on Grindr, and we had the real true love story there. And and Marcus and I both had very similar family man values. We both wanted to be dads, the same as you, Matty, right? We had this dream, and we reached out to a gay couple online that had a child, and we said, hey, we would love to start a family. What do you suggest? And they said, every journey to parenthood's different. Good luck. And we thought, what the fuck? And you know this.
They were like, we thought you wanted the threesome.
And they, I think, Marcus and I live by it now. You can't be what you can't see. And we reached out to them because we didn't know where to go and what to do and how to start. Mm-hmm. And so Marcus and I, for ourselves, had to start from the very start because there was no one to go for us, for two gay men here in Australia. This is who to go and speak to. This is where your journey begins. And so it started a 6-year journey of us becoming dads, and it was pretty full on. And there was a lot. Wow. There was a lot over those 6 years, for us to really understand, accept, investigate. There were so many decisions and, roadblocks along the way, including abortion laws in Texas after we had signed a surrogacy contract in Texas. Wow. But then, you take on the risk of, fertility with women. Women are incredible fucking human beings, especially mothers or women that are pregnant. And, then to find out that if, one of our babies or both of them had taken and there was, any issues with pregnancy, they weren't allowed to abort them. And in Texas, otherwise, their husband was going to go to jail and family. And anyway, it's kind of crazy. There was a lot for us to factor in. It took us 6 years. We have had to consider so much to bring these boys into the world. Every step along the way was intentional. It wasn't like a hetero couple that, plan to have a baby, get knocked up and have a baby, and 9 months fucking flies. And they go, holy shit, what do we do now? It's here, right? And then you got to figure out still your relationship with one another, and then with the baby, and then everything else to factor in. We had 6 years to consider a lot. Wow. So by the time the boys came, it feels like it's the most easiest job or role in my life.
Wow.
I've never been happier in who I am. I love being a dad. I love the boys. It just feels so right. I said to my therapist a few weeks ago, being a dad of twins is the easiest thing in my life. And we got a lot of fucking shit going on in our life, right? And people love to doom and gloom parenting.
Yeah.
And it surprises us. And we think it's because maybe they didn't get as much time to really consider whether they wanted to be a parent or not.
Yeah.
Whereas Marcus and I had 6 years to really consider it because that's how long it took.
Can you adopt me?
I,
I need a daddy.
I think one of the most
Trust me, it
beautiful
wasn't the
things-
best living there, Brooke.
I think one of the most beautiful things about being a gay parent or a dad is that the consideration. It's like we really choose a hetero couple. Sometimes it's not by choice.
Correct.
It's that it happens and then you bring the baby into
You
the
just
world
deal
and
with it,
everything just sort of, flows on. But as a gay dad, I really have to want and consider and choose to bring you into the world.
And
you know?
reflect and you have so much time to
yeah.
plan.
It's so intentional, right?
Yes,
it is.
yeah,
And
And
that's
there's
the
so
word.
many moments for you to go, I'm out.
Yeah.
This is too much. By law, we had to do our estate planning and write our wills before we even created embryos and sent sperm, right? So you really have to stop and think every step along the way, hang on, this is real. Do I want this or not? Whereas, it feels like it's the complete opposite for people. So yeah, we love it, and we are big believers in you can't be what you can't see.
Yeah.
And
It's my favourite saying.
the only gay people I knew growing up was Will and Jack from Will and Grace, and I used to think there's no fucking way I'm going to be a lawyer in New York. So where do I belong? There's nothing like me out there. And so now why I'm so, call it unapologetically myself, it's because I just know that there's a little Scott out there that can look up and go, fuck, I can have a job. I can have my own belief system. I can have a partner, children, house. I can have what I want.
Yeah, wow. I want to talk about something that is a bit fucking out of this world, which is how the fuck do you reflect on your journey and go, I've met Selena Gomez, Katy Perry, the Osbournes, you're interacting with these A-listers. How do you compute
How do you
that?
go, Luke?
Do you
just claim
I'm just a radiographer.
How do I go? I think
It's so weird still.
it is very weird, but the thing that I surprise myself with all of it is that I find myself very present, which I never, if I was to go back 5 years ago and say you'll be meeting these people or having these experiences, you truly won't. I don't think I'd be present. I remember a random celebrity encounter I probably had 5 years ago where I'd meet someone and I'd freak out and be really weird and it was very strange, but it's nice that when you meet these people, they're also very interested in you. So you're getting the questions back on their end, and it does feel like you do belong. And these people that we have met, we've been fortunate enough that we've met so many people that do make you feel like you belong in that room, and you feel comfortable, and you forget of their status, you forget of all the accomplishments they've had in their lives, and you're there just having a fun chat with this person in front of you.
I think the beautiful thing that we can say about these fucking listers that we've met, right? And attracts right? So we're not going to get somebody that's inauthentic around us in our circle because I guess they know that our energy would rip that to shreds in authenticity, right? So the most fascinating thing is, and we'll talk about Selena, how vulnerable she is as a human being.
Yeah.
And how
amazing.
open she is with having all these types of parts to her that make her who she is.
Yep.
And she's vulnerable and honest with it. And that it quickly disarms you. Right, and takes all the nerves away because you see a bit of yourself in this person, or you see this human being just being a person trying their best to do their
Is
best.
she really present?
Oh my God, fucking
Too present. More present than me.
Oh, she's unbelievable.
Want some M&Ms? That was the first thing she said to me.
Because
Can you
isn't that
remember
the most
that?
amazing thing when you connect with someone and you know they're locked into you?
Locked.
Doesn't matter what's happening here, especially in a room of a busy crowd, and
Yeah.
you have a conversation with someone, and when you're both locked in, that feeling of connection is fucking unmatched.
I had this fucking moment with Danny Minogue at the
Yeah.
basketball, and it
Yeah.
was insane. She would not let me go,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
pinched myself, so I couldn't even imagine
We
the feeling.
we get to LA once, and Sharon Osbourne texts Luke and said, "Come around. We know it's Father's Day tomorrow, but come around tomorrow."
Text Luke,
right?
are you kidding?
And they've been
They're
supporters.
sitting with a number and address and stuff. I'm like, oh God, Scott,
Yeah,
Oh
let's
my
leak
life.
it. No.
And then, sure enough,
I wouldn't do that.
that morning we wake up and Sharon says, listen, Ozzy wasn't well, or there was and there was something else that Sharon had to go and do. So Father's Day lunch at the Osbournes was off. But then Callie messages, she's like,
Fuck that. Come
she's-
to mine.
Yeah, she's like, fuck mum, fuck dad, come to my house, right? So we're like, what's going on? Like we're involved in a family group chat. We go around to Callie's house, right? And we walk in and we're like, hi. And she's been calling us her like Aussie brothers online and stuff like that. But it's the first time we've met her, and we sit down on the couch and
Well, Mum was sent a video to Sharon before we went over, like, look after my boys over there.
in LA. And Sharon's like, I've got him, don't worry, right? And Callie
From where did you live? Mill
Mill
Park?
Park.
Mill Park
Mill Park.
to literally in Chino or whatever it is they call it. And Callie and us two and her beautiful son Sydney just hung out like the whole afternoon. And we just...
We were like falling asleep on the couch. I'm like, son, I think we've got to leave soon.
It's true. It's just...
Callie's
my
like, I can't be bothered cooking
What was
lunch
the
anymore.
house
I've got
like?
Easter eggs in the cupboard if you want them.
So the fascinating thing about her house, yeah, I ate all her Easter eggs. The fascinating thing about her house was we were the first visitors that she'd ever had in her house. And I was like, bitch, we could be crazy ass motherfuckers. And she's like, that's why you're here. She's like, Mum messaged and said, invite the boys to your house. And like, I'm sorry I can't make it, but just, I want you to sense check whether they are the real deal or not. Are they really the boys that come across to be?
Oh my God.
And she's like, so Mum and Dad haven't even been here. And then she was just like telling us about like family arguments, like really sensitive information because she just felt so comfortable around us, which was kind of really cool. And since
What was
then,
that sensitive information?
Let's sell it.
since that, she messages us a lot. The Osbournes are still, are very entrenched in who we are now because they support us. And Callie's kind of like a sister now to us. It's weird. It's weird.
Wow.
That's so
Is she
cool.
quirky as fuck? Like, I
She's
can
really
imagine her
chill.
being a bit crazy.
She was really chill.
Really chill.
Which that's what surprised me about
But
Callie.
she said, so she said to me that it's motherhood. Like that's really kind of like balanced her right out. Becoming a mum, has helped her find her identity, with Sydney, her son, and she's found a really lovely partner. Sid, her partner, he's really cool too.
From Slipknot.
Yeah, it's weird.
Oh,
We took a
band.
photo with him, and I remember a few of our followers are like, oh, like the crossover we never knew we would get. Like, Sassy Scott and Slipknot.
Well, look, I want to say, like, there's so many, like, people that you would get having interactions with you that have you on that platform or that pedestal of celebrity, right? What is that like for you when you get people stop you in the street or, you're out having dinner and someone goes, oh my God, it's you two. Like, what does that feel like?
I feel a lot of people, majority that do, we live in a life now that we put these videos up and they do go, the reach is really far. Like, I'm not going to be blind to that.
Humble.
But I'm still
Yeah, we used to be
very...
like, what? 50 million people liked it.
Like, I'm like,
Kidding
oh,
me? Now we're like, 50 million people liked it. I
we
know,
only
it's
paid
just reality.
2,000 for the views this time, Scott. No, but the people come up, and dare I say, it'd be very much like reality TV, maybe back in the day. Say like Big Brother, like we're in these people's homes all the time on their phones that we're feeling maybe more like family and friends. So I don't always know if we have that real big star power to a lot of people, but it's enough that people probably have that chip on their shoulder coming off that they feel like they can come and talk to us quite easily. So we do find a lot of people coming up to us, talking to us a lot and opening up about things or...
Yeah,
Whereas
we-
I can be
diva.
very awkward and I'm like, oh God, another conversation
Yeah,
today, but-
we
how do you do-
experience
yeah.
something that's because we're family, right? So people bring stories to us that are so sensitive. And it's because we remind them of a sibling or a cousin or a family member maybe that they've lost or that's gone through a hard time or something. And it was so overwhelming for quite some time there.
And that's something you never train for.
No, and we would
No, fuck no.
Not a radiology school.
I'd wake up.
I've got no heart after working in a hospital for 7 years.
That's true.
So I'm like,
true.
oh, that's sad to hear.
Your empathy
you wanna get a
vial is
photo?
all that.
Whereas I would
Joking.
I would wake up and I would be really distraught. Some of the stories. So, we don't experience, touch wood, much negativity or hate. But the stories that I remember or the comments that I remember are those of severe loss or hardship. And my heart can just instantly break for a person sometimes when they share something with us. And it's so overwhelming sometimes to go home and hear some of these stories, and I'm in this perfect bubble compared to what that person's going through. I feel really unbalanced sometimes, and the justice in it. I just feel like it's so unfair what some people are experiencing in the world when we've got all this positivity around us, and I just want to fucking bottle it up and give it to some people sometimes.
Yeah. Wow. Sweetheart.
I mean, that's what people get from you, though. That's what you do. You know, like, I think that's your impact, is that you make people laugh. You give them that sense of joy, even when they are going through a hard time. I think that's your superpower, both of you. And I think that, like, as a duo that we never knew we needed before we met you, but now we're so grateful that
now
we
you
have
can't fucking get rid of us. That algorithm loves us.
Oh, the algorithm loves you. The world loves you. We love you. And we so appreciate, you coming on our pod and spending time with us today.
With us. Yeah. It's been so nice to get to know you guys on more of a personal level.
Yeah.
Listen, I think, you guys, speaking to you can't be what you can't see. You are, doing that. You are the epitome of that. And, I will always lend, my voice, and I'll drag Luke along whether he fucking likes it or not, as an ally, for the whole mob and community, however we can show up, let us know, right? Yeah. Like, that's that curiosity in me. Let me know what else you guys need from us, because we are here all the fucking time. And, thank you. It means a lot.
And it's the one thing that we are very intentional. Like, we have had a lot of travel around Australia and meeting mob all across Australia and learning something I've probably been so naive to my whole life, but it's been so beautiful to learn about culture in this country. And it's something that we are so proud about, to put the fist up, to do what we can, to post, to just be seen as an ally, to be a friend. It means a lot to us and to a lot of people.
Yeah.
The synergy of this moment right now is Elise Cooper. She's the person who brought this pod to life in the beginning. She was our first producer, and now, she works with these mobs. So shout out to Elise.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
she's our EP.
She's our producer at the moment.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
I love her, the egghead.
Yeah.
She's a big egg. That's
big
what I call
egghead.
it.
Oh,
big headed.
But yeah, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you everyone for listening. That's all we have time for today. So if you love what you hear, leave us a little rating or a review.
If you want us to cover anything on the pod, reach out via our socials. My handle is at Brooke.Blurton. Matty, yours is?
It's Matty Mills. And if you're not following them, what the fuck are you doing? But like, you're living under a rock. But what is your handle?
Go, Luke.
Luke and Sassy Scott.
There it is.
It's that easy Scott. Across socials.
Thanks, guys.
Anytime. Thanks for having us. Bye.